Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome everybody to our Safety Day training at the Sacramento Fire Department. Thank you all for joining us today. We're just going to go over just a very brief overview of some really important key concepts in keeping your business safe and your employees safe from, of course, fire, since we are at the fire department. So I'm going to go over a lot of information today. Please feel free to take notes, and please feel free to raise your hand and ask questions at the end if you just needed a little bit of clarification on anything. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is what is fire protection and why is it so important? So fire protection is really just a system that is put in place with, state and local agencies to ensure that your building and the people who occupy your building, such as your workers, employees, are staying safe. And there's a lot of things that you can actually do to ensure the safety of your building and of your employees. So the first thing I want to talk about is what we want to think about at our building is, do we have a place for emergency responders to park, for one? Do we have a designated parking for emergency responders? Where is your building easily able to be located? Do you have an address on the outside that is clear? Is there a lockbox? Is there a gate? Those types of things we want to think about, because if we do have a lockbox or we do have a gate and there is an actual emergency, how are the firefighters supposed to get to you? So you want to start thinking about that. Another thing that you want to think about also is, do you have fire hydrants available on the exterior of your building? One of the codes that we have states that you need to have a 3-foot clearance around each fire hydrant. So you want to make sure that you are aware of those and that you can stay in compliance with that, especially if you're adding on to your building or doing any construction and anything like that. So you definitely want to look out for that. If you're in the process of constructing a new business or adding on, you want to make sure that the materials that are being used are fire rated materials. And how do we know that they're fire rated materials? Well, all materials go through an extensive processing, and there's a certain procedure for fire rated materials. Now, what is fire rating, you ask? So one of the most, popular things in a building would be fire doors. So you have doors that are fire rated. They must have a 3 to 4 centimeter gap between the door and the outside of the door. Most fire doors are rated for anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. So what that means is, if I have a fire over here, I see the fire coming in, I'm going to close that door. And that door, if it's a fire rated door, that's a 30 or 60 minute fire rated door, then that will allow me 30 to 60 minutes to get out of that area. So it is 30 to 60 minutes before gases or smoke start penetrating through the gaps in the doors. So you want to make sure that you've got the proper fire doors. Lots of other items that you want to make sure and that you're checking in your building. Do you have fire extinguishers? Do you know how to check fire extinguishers? Do you know how to use fire extinguishers? Do you know that they need to be checked monthly, annually? Who's going to do that? So you want to make sure to educate yourself on that. Your sprinkler systems, you want to make sure that you're checking your sprinkler systems. You also want to make sure, okay, what type of business is this, and what materials do I need to run this business? So we're looking at all types of things like storage. Are you going to have compressed gas? Are you going to have explosives, refrigerants, things like that? You always want to make sure that you have a good knowledge of what's going to be brought into your business, so then you can take care of those materials and those items properly. If you have anything that's flammable, it must be stored in a flammable cabinet, things like that. So we really want to think about that going into making sure that our businesses are safe. Per the NFPA 72, it's required to maintain and service all fire alarms annually. So you want to make sure that you're set up with some type of contractor to come in to check your fire alarms and make sure that everything's working in an appropriate way. You also want to make sure that you have emergency lighting. If there's an emergency, there's a fire, power goes out, how are we going to ensure that ourselves and our staff can get to an exit in a timely manner? So we want to look at that. Another brief thing that I just kind of want to touch on is not fire extinguishers, is extension cords. So a lot of times at home, we've got to plug a bunch of stuff in, or we can't reach something to where we need to, reach it. So we're going to plug in cords. And then sometimes there's also daisy chaining going on. So it's a surge protector plugged into an extension cord, plugged into, a power tool or something like that. That's something that is a big, big no-no in your place of business, because when an inspector comes in there and they see that, that will be an absolute violation, because it is an absolute fire hazard. So you just want to make sure that you're educating yourself on all these little things that you may not have thought about. You just really want to ensure the safety of your building, the safety of the occupants in your building, because your buildings will be inspected by inspectors from the Sacramento County, from the California state. So you definitely want to make sure that you stay in compliance. And sometimes if you don't know that if you're in compliance with something, you can always reach out to us. You can always reach out to other county officials and just say, hey, can you come check this out to make sure that I'm staying in compliance? Because I really want to make sure that my building and, everybody else inside of it is safe. So I hope that I provided you with some tips today, or a little bit more of knowledge of the things that you need to look out for in your building. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. You can always find us online at sacfire.gov, and you can always, reach out to us for any other questions or concerns that you may have in the future. So again, thank you all.